Hey everyone, so this video is going to be my top 25 tweaks for the Uncover jailbreak for iOS 13.5. This is running on my iPhone 11 Pro Max, so if anybody else has a similar device, then you can rest assured that all of these tweaks work correctly. So with that being said, let's kick off. So number one on the list is a font. So as you can see from my settings here, everything is different in terms of the font. I've actually selected one of the fonts that I already had installed, which was Avenir. I've tried a few different ones. You can actually import additional fonts as well. With this, I just prefer the clean look. This is the same font that I actually use for some of the text overlay on my videos, so that's basically the one that I went with. If you wanted to, you could change a few of the settings in here as well. The main thing I actually did was literally just choose the font, and then I also chose certain apps that I didn't want. I may have actually changed that since. Originally I did actually, there you go, yep. So I've chosen Fonto and also LumaFusion, which is the app that I actually use for video editing. I've chosen not to have it showing for those particular apps. I'm not sure why Mail was selected. Right, the next tweak is AutoHide HomeBarX, and once you actually install this tweak, you will get some settings in there. You can come in and change this and adjust it to your particular liking, and then once you've made any changes, you've got the respring button there at the top. Essentially what this is doing is it's hiding the home bar, if you like, from the screens, and it just gives you a bit more real estate in all of the windows that you're actually watching. Right, so the next tweak is BottomControlX, and essentially what this is doing is it's giving you options, access to your control center as well as your notification center, but from the bottom of the screen. So it's making your one-handed use a lot more easy. So as you can see where I'm actually clicking with the little dot. So if I swipe up from the middle, it's basically just the normal home bar action. If I swipe up from the bottom right, however, and there you go. So as you can see, I swiped up from the bottom right and it's accessed control center, and if I swipe up from the bottom left, it's accessed my notification center. There are a few adjustments that can be made in this, and I would recommend going in and fine-tuning it depending on how you hold the phone and how you actually swipe, if you use your thumb or whether you're using your index finger or something like that. Depending on how you're actually using your phone, you may find that you need to turn the lower gesture sensibility higher or lower, and also the custom center gesture area width as well. What I've actually done is I've got everything set, so then it's bottom left is cover sheet, middle is your normal home gesture, and your right is control center, and bottom left, this is on the lock screen, so obviously no need for the, in fact it doesn't even give you the option, is literally just take screenshot, lock device or control center. But as I say, on the lock screen you don't need to do any of that, so control center is the only one that you actually need access to. And then in app is similar thing, so cover sheet is bottom left, home gesture is middle, and then control center is bottom right. And if I just give you an idea of roughly how far, so with the original settings, if you were to swipe up from, say, for the second icon at the bottom here on my dock, so I've got 6 icons, if I was to swipe up from the bottom, the second icon across on either one, normally it would trigger. I've actually got it so then it's almost about 1.5, so it's roughly about here and roughly about here. Anything above that, anything beyond that, and it'll just do the normal home gesture. Anything to the left of that or the right of that sort of area, and it will activate the whichever command you actually want. Now to activate this, really you do need to actually swipe all the way from the bottom, so it's almost as though you're swiping from off the screen onto the screen. And if you have a screen protector installed, it's actually quite easy, because wherever your finger meets the screen protector, you can literally just swipe up from there and it will basically activate. So that is BottomControlX. The next one, you may have actually just glanced it there, is Carrierizer. So this is where you can customize your carrier label. So I've actually got my YouTube name there, so MA Tech YouTube. Nice and simple. Not everybody will find that useful, but it's just one of those aesthetic things that is quite nice. The next one is central. So central is what is essentially centralizing all of my icons here. So as you can see on my second page, both of these icons here are in the middle, and similarly again, if I open a folder, it will just centralize everything into the middle of the folder for me as well. Right, the next one is color badges. So as you can see with the YouTube icon just here, it's basically colorizing any notification bubbles that you actually get to the same color as whatever the main color of that particular app is. Right, the next one is complications. So this is essentially on my lock screen, and this is basically where you have this row of complications copied from the Apple Watch, and you can customize this and you can add different widgets, and you can also choose certain apps as well. For me personally, I've got my battery on the top left. Next to that, I've got sunrise sunset. Next to that, I've got the local weather temperature. I've got Cydia shortcut next to that, as well as YouTube Studio. And then on the bottom row, I have the camera, LifeX for my lights. This I believe is Cloud Edge for my doorbell. And next to that I have DS Cam, which is my security cameras, and then the home icon. So that's nice and useful. I believe you can set up to 3 or 4 rows, so you can have a lot more icons actually showing here. The next one is cylinder. So this is basically adding different animations to your whenever you're swiping through pages. There's a long list of different animations that you can choose from. I've actually had this from previous jailbreaks as well, and this is what I always preferred, just the simple cylinder on the outside rotating around. The next one is digital battery 13, and as you can see that rather than having the battery there, it shows the percentage right on the home screen. I prefer this to the other method that a lot of the tweaks use, which is to put a percentage inside the battery. The main reason for that is this is a lot bigger, it's a lot more clear, and there's a few other options that you can actually choose. I believe if we just come back into here, so if you wanted to, you could change the alignment, you could change the colors and things like that. But with how it is, I think it's just right for how I actually like it. So that's digital battery 13. Right, the next one is double tap lock. So here on the home screen, all I do is double tap and it's locked my phone, and then I can just unlock it again. So that's nice and simple. It's mainly just a utility, so whenever I've got it laid down, possibly just on my charging, my wireless charger, I can just double tap the screen and it'll lock it for me. The next one is flame, and flame is a very useful Cydia tweak, and even though you won't actually get any settings for it here, essentially it's probably the very first one that you want to install in Cydia. The main reason for that is it gives you a lot of options in terms of batch uploading. So when you hit add, normally for your sources you would have just this option to add one at a time. What this does is it gives you the option to batch mode, and what that will do is essentially it will install everything that is copied into your clipboard. It will scan whatever that is there, and I've tried this even if there's names and tags. So for example, for all of these, if somebody's actually gone named all of these Acusio repo and then put the repo, it'll only pull the actual repos and it will select those and basically give you the option to add them. It'll then pull everything and I'll add it all at once, saving you quite a bit of time. So flame is a must-have. The next one is HomePlus or HomePlus Beta, which is the one I have installed, and that is essentially how I have this particular type of grid layout. So to activate this, you swipe down from the top left, and then you've got various options in terms of settings. You can hide icon, labels, badges, all sorts. You can change whether you want it top justified, bottom. You can change the spacing from top to bottom as well as left and right. So there's a lot of settings in here. As you can see, I've customized mine quite a bit, and this is what I've settled on. This is how I like it. It means that everything is within reach, so right from the calendar down to the home icon, and also on the dock obviously I can swipe all just with my right thumb, holding it in my right hand, and any of the folders are still easily enough accessible. So that was HomePlus. The next one is Maple 2, and essentially what it will do is display a little almost like the old air power animation over the top of your lock screen. It won't do it whilst the phone is unlocked, but whilst it's locked it will show that animation. So that is Maple 2. Right, the next one, you've probably already seen this when I was showing Digital Battery 13, but it's basically Peep. So it's basically how I'm hiding or showing the status bar icons. And essentially what will happen here is when I'm clicking it, I'm not sure whether the recording will actually pick it up, because obviously I've got the recording icon in the top left, but essentially it hides both the time and the Wi-Fi and everything else at the top. The one thing that does still show up is whenever your location services kicks in, that will still show if you have that enabled to actually show in your status bar icon. But the rest of it, it just gives it a really clean look. Obviously on my setup, I've hidden everything. I've got my page dots hidden away, so everything is just nice and clean. So that was Peep. The next one is Power Module, and what this does is it adds this extra little interface and options to your control center. And what you can do is just on this very first kind of compressed view, the top left is your respring, and it just gives you a nice and quick easy access to a respring option. So no matter if you're having any problems, or if you're in a different app and you just change something and you want to just quickly respring, you've got the option there. You also have the option of powering down, safe mode, and a couple of other options. If you do power down or reboot, obviously you will need to repeat your jailbreak because the uncover jailbreak is semi-tethered, so you will need to just rerun that if you use either of those options. So that is Power Module. The next one is QuitAll. So if I bring up my multitasking, as you can see up here in the top right, it gives you the option for clear. If you just tap that single icon, it will just kill all your applications for you, and basically just makes life easier. This, for most people, they'll probably say you don't need to do this. However, there are certain apps and certain circumstances where it's better to actually kill the app, mainly just to get rid of the clutter, but also, for example, with YouTube Studio, for me, sometimes the notifications don't actually pull through correctly. So what I have to do is just kill the app and reopen it, and then the notification will be showing. So for that reason, QuitAll is a very useful little tweak to have. The next one is SafariFeatures, and what this does is it gives you a few of the iPad-like options on your Safari app essentially. And the main one that I actually wanted was just to have these tabs along the top, just so then if you're ever browsing websites and you get a lot of pop-ups, ordinarily you would have to click this bottom right hand corner, and then you'd have to come to the second window, close that with the X, or swipe it away. Whereas with this, I can literally just open up another. Say for example this was the pop-up, I literally just hit the X there and it's closed, hit the X and it's closed. So that is SafariFeatures. There are a lot more feature settings that you can actually adjust, I believe. Yeah, so you've got all these other options, but that's the main thing that I actually wanted this for. So that is SafariFeatures. Right, so the next one is SAW. So if we just come into this, these are the options that you actually get for SAW. And essentially what this is doing is whenever you've got a keyboard present, it's getting rid of the little bar that you would constantly have there. And say for example, if you did use a tweak such as a bar emoji or something like that, it would make that more accessible by getting rid of the bar, and basically it's not overlaying on top of any additional tweaks that you wanted. You could also, I believe, shrink the keyboard if you wanted to. I personally don't actually use that option. I think it may need a respring. Well, no, it actually doesn't. So that's with the shrunken keyboard. And what I'll do is I'll just take that back off, and that's without. So you basically end up losing the microphone and these emoji icons if you did use that option. I'm just wondering if it does actually relocate. Yeah, so it literally just squashes your keyboard and it relocates them to there. So personally, I prefer just leaving that option off, but getting rid of the bar is SAW. Right, so the next one is Shuffle, and what Shuffle does is essentially it gives you a lot of options, but once you've actually jailbroken and you end up with lots and lots of tweaks, this page here ends up really long. Your main settings page, you come in and you have to scroll all the way down to find everything. What this does is it just tidies up your settings pane, so then you can have your tweaks right at the top. You've got all of your main apps separated there, and then you've got some system apps separated here as well. It just makes it a lot more easier and manageable in terms of going through and finding your tweaks, especially when you first jailbreak, and when you first start installing everything you go a bit crazy, install more than you should. So that's a really helpful one, Shuffle. So the next one is Shy Labels 13. Now I'm not sure how well this can actually show up because I've hidden my normal labels, but essentially what this would do is similarly to my page dots. So if I just swipe, you can see it shows the page dots for 1 second and then disappears. It would do a very similar thing with the labels as well. The only reason I'm not actually using that at the moment is one of the tweaks I've actually switched the labels off completely, so then I can eliminate some of the gap between the icons so I can have them more compressed. But that's Shy Labels 30. The next one is Sleepy Time, and what Sleepy Time does, if I come across to my alarms, as you can see, it literally just gives you how long you have till that alarm goes off. So tonight when I actually go to bed, I'll probably go to bed about 10:30, 11ish, and as you can see, I need to be up at 4:20 in the morning. It'll tell me exactly, it's going to be something like 6 hours or something, roughly 5 or 6 hours by the time I actually get to sleep, but it tells you how long you've got till your alarm goes off. The next one is Snowboard, and Snowboard, obviously being a theming app, can do quite a lot. You can install custom icons, you can install fully customized themes and everything, but the main thing I actually use it for is just for the rounded icons. So you literally just click into icon options and you can hide your labels and things like that in here as well. But essentially that's the quick and easy way that I've actually got my rounded icons. I have previously made a video on this because that was requested by somebody, but that's basically what I'm using Snowboard from. I did actually have a different theme installed initially, but I didn't actually stick with it, mainly because as I've hidden the labels, I need to be able to recognize the actual icons, and with that particular theme, too many of the icons were too similar to the point where I was clicking the wrong app quite often, so I actually uninstalled it, and basically this is the look that I'm actually liking at the moment. So that's Snowboard. Right, so the next one is Touchflow, and Touchflow is basically the little dot that you're seeing every time I touch the screen. I personally have it set so then it only shows whilst recording, because that's the only time I actually need it, just to illustrate to you guys, the viewers, where I'm actually clicking, and it just makes it a bit easier to show the point. So that's very simple, Touchflow. Right, the next one is Tritium or Tritium. I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce it, but this is essentially the always on display. This is my lock screen, and when I turn it off, this is the always on display. Now on the screen, it's going to look a lot brighter to you than what it actually looks like to me. In the options, if I just come across into the options, as you can see, I have my display brightness set all the way down, so for me it's really dim. Personally I disabled the nightstand mode because I have Maple 2 and I also have some other tweaks on the lock screen, so it didn't really work very well for me. So personally I just leave the always on display. I have it set to mono. If you wanted to, you could choose custom colors and things like that. I personally just like the look of having a mono lock, well, always on display. Now there is one slight caveat to this particular tweak, and that is the fact that it will sometimes make your camera unresponsive. That's the reason why I actually have the camera as part of my complications just here, because if I need to, I can just click that and it's basically doing the same thing, but it's going directly into the main camera, so that way it doesn't give me any issues with regards to any photo modes or anything. What I was finding is, I think it's something to do with the night mode, where on the 11 Pro Max, I've not actually tested this on any of the other devices. I might try this on my wife's phone as she has a 10s Max, but with the night mode on the 11 Pro Max, what happens is, as soon as it tries to almost detect whether it needs to kick into night mode or not, the whole camera setup just kind of freezes. It's unresponsive. You can change between video, photo, everything like that. You can even try and hit the shutter button, but it just doesn't do anything. So that's the slight caveat to Tritium, where it does have that one slight bug, but obviously with complications, and there's a lot of other tweaks that you can get where you can add icons to your lock screen that will give you a shortcut straight into the camera app. I prefer complications for the reason that basically it just gives you one button and you're straight in. So that is Tritium. And the final one, in fact what I'll do is I'll just showcase that. So the final one is swipe for more. So I just hit the Cydia icon, and what you do is if you come into Cydia, it now gives you an option where you can swipe, and it gives you more options where you can queue it, you can update it, or if you want to delete something you can quickly delete it as well. So that's very useful if you've installed, for example, like I did with the widgets and the tweaks, the themes, sorry. If you want to just get rid of a load of them, you can just swipe and queue them all, and then just hit once and it'll delete them all at once. So that's the final one, swipe for more. So that is my top 25 tweaks for the iPhone 11 Pro Max and iOS 13.5. If you have found this video useful, please give us a thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel and also share. And as always, thanks for watching.